What's up, Savvy Expats? So, we always talk about how you can stretch your dollar much further in the Philippines and live on a low retirement budget with ease. But in today's video, on the flip side, we're diving into what life is like living on a big retirement in the Philippines. Everything from lifestyle, luxuries you can afford, and what you can possibly do with your money will be discussed in this video. So whether you're a Filipino American, balikbayan, or just a foreigner with a lot more dough to spend, we'll be talking about what you can do with your retirement funds in the Philippines. Also, quick shout out to John, Daniel, and Roti from the Patreon. We're going to be covering retirement a lot more on the Patreon page. So first off, let's establish what's considered a big retirement when living in the Philippines. We can categorize a big retirement anything over $5,000 per month. With that being said, when talking about a big retirement in the Philippines, I'm referring to $5,000 and over. I know some articles will claim that living on $2,000 per month will enable you to live a luxurious life. And don't get me wrong, $2,000 per month is definitely enough to live a good life in the Philippines. But because we're talking about the kind of lifestyle where you won't have to worry about spending, we bump the numbers up a little bit more. Really quick, let's categorize Philippine lifestyle standards based on your monthly budget. So $800 to $1,200 per month would be at your base level, otherwise considered basic living. This is the kind of lifestyle where you'll have to watch your expenses, but you'll be alright living in the Philippines. Maybe you'll shop at local markets, choose a smaller accommodation, and eat at home more often than not. But overall, you can live comfortably if you keep an eye on your expenses and make a few sacrifices from your lifestyle living in a Western country. At this stage, you shouldn't be loosely spending on extravagant things. So I would consider this level Tier 1, which is the base level for this monthly budget. This level is fitting for those of you that are simple and minimalistic. Now as for Tier 2, we're talking $2,000 to $3,000 per month. At this tier, you can live really well off. Some may even say that this is considered the sweet spot. Eating out more often, bigger accommodations, and having the option between the city and provincial life are all things that you can afford. At this monthly budget, you don't have to watch your spending nearly as much. You can spend more loosely, shop at malls more often, and choose to live in a bigger accommodation. Overall, you don't have to pinch pennies and live on the bare minimum. You can live more comfortably and afford to splurge on a few more things. At this tier, you can be flexible with your budget and you'll have less worries being able to stick to your budget. So this being what I consider the second level will give you much more wiggle room to spend. Now for the tier or level that we're especially covering in this video, that is Tier 3, $5,000 and up. For the Philippines, for lack of better words, I would consider this tier #baller. From this tier, $5,000 plus, you won't have to worry about your expenses unless you're spending like a complete maniac. $5,000 to $10,000 per month will allow you to definitely afford the higher luxuries of living in the Philippines. I'm talking a stay-in maid, a cook, a driver, all that jazz. If you want to wake up in the morning and have a meal served to you in your bed, this is the budget for that. If you want to never worry about cleaning, doing the dishes, doing the laundry, this is the budget for that. If you want to have a driver on call 24/7 to take spontaneous road trips out to the city or province, this is the budget for that. If you want to eat out anytime you please, however often you please, this is the budget for that. And so hopefully by now you get the idea of what kind of lifestyle a big retirement budget can afford. At this level tier, you can have the luxury of being able to choose living in a nice city in Manila or living in the province. And if you can't choose, you may live in Manila while having a getaway home in the province, vice versa. The nice part about this is that you can afford to get the best of both worlds, the modern metropolitan lifestyle and the true Philippine island lifestyle. And even if you don't necessarily fit into this category of a budget, you can still live in both the province and the city. Now to give you an idea of what type of house you can afford, a spacious 3-bedroom home can easily be done. Your home can even have a pool built if you choose. What's especially attractive about this lifestyle, like I said, is being able to afford helpers. You can have your cook or maid go grocery shopping for you by giving them a monthly shopping budget, and your driver will be able to drive them to the grocery store and whatnot. If you want to go to the mall, you'll have your driver on call whenever you please. And when you think about it, hiring a driver is actually cheaper than owning a car in the Philippines. To be able to pay a monthly salary to your driver is much more affordable than owning a car. You won't have to worry about repairs, maintenance, oil changes.
See you later, Pop. Woo! Come on, time to change that oil.
payments, and the terrible Philippine parking situation. And if you want to go on vacation, you can have your driver come with you to take you around. The nice part about this is that more likely than not, your driver will know the area much better than you do. So he can take you to attractions to visit, certain restaurants, and tell you what areas to avoid. It's just so much easier having a local with you to be able to navigate the place that you're visiting. So hiring a driver, in my opinion, is really worth the money. And not to mention, as you all know, driving in the Philippines is every man for themselves, Wild West style. So between a maid, driver, property keeper who cleans the pool or gardens, and potentially even a cook if you want to go full baller, they can all be hired for less than $1,000 per month. Because you have to keep in mind that the average monthly salary for a maid in the Philippines is roughly $175 per month, or 9,000 pesos per month. It may be a little bit higher, maybe $200 to $300 per month, but hiring a maid for any more than that is not very common or necessary. But you also have to consider paying her living expenses like food, phone bills, and housing her. And then you have to take into consideration paying benefits like PhilHealth, SSS, Pag-ibig, perhaps college tuition, and all other sorts of benefits. But let me give you a tip. If you plan on hiring a maid, be selective about who you hire. Consider things like her personality, trustworthiness, and past experiences. I say this because I had a friend who hired a maid and she was with his family for quite some time. And let's just say she wasn't trustworthy because when it was all said and done, she ended up stealing over $1,000 from his family.
What?
Yep, you heard me right. I know. I also have no clue how she managed to steal over 1,000 whopping buckaroos from under their noses, but it's just what happened. I mean, to be able to do that without them noticing, that's something else. But that's what my friend experienced, and just a heads up to you guys because I don't want you guys to have to go through something like that too. So if you have a good judge of character, be particular about the maid you choose to live in your household. But once again, hiring a maid is roughly about $200 per month. Now hiring a driver is roughly $300 per month, or in pesos, 14,000 pesos per month. Then you also have to take into consideration the benefits that I mentioned earlier. And hiring a gardener or someone that will just take care of your property is roughly about the same as a maid, $200 per month. And if you were to go all out and hire a cook, that would roughly cost you $230 per month, or in pesos, 12,000 pesos per month plus benefits. So if you wanted to hire all of these helpers, that would roughly equate to $930 per month. But let's say the gardener and the cook isn't necessary for you and you just want to hire a maid and a driver. Then that would only add up to $500 per month for help that's worth it in my opinion. I'll also mention that with a big retirement budget, you can live in a safe and gated community. But what especially puts you in a phenomenal spot is that most months, you're going to have extra money to spend. At the end of the month, your housing costs, helping costs, food expenses, and other miscellaneous expenses won't even come close to blowing through your budget. And so you have all this extra money. What do you do with it? Well, with this extra money that you have at the end of the month, set it aside. If it's not necessary, don't go on spending on random things that you don't need. Because as you're going through your retirement years and anything can happen, having money set aside every month will give you so much more assurance. God forbid you get sick, injured, or have to go to the hospital, you have that safety cushion that you set aside from previous months that will help you pay for those expenses. Or say you live in a disaster-prone area. You don't want to be in a position that most people were during Typhoon Odette. If your house gets destroyed due to unpredictable weather patterns, you want to be able to dig into your safety deposits, or just to have some sort of support in general. So the point is, set aside extra cash each month just in case of a disaster or health issue. Another nice aspect about having this type of budget is that you can spend more on clothing. From what I've found, locally made clothes in the Philippines don't last as long. They rip, they tear, they shrink. So with you on the other hand, you can afford to shop at higher end stores to get clothes that will actually last. And as mentioned before, you can go on vacations whenever you please. You'll be able to take weekend vacations to Baguio, Palawan, La Union, whatever you desire. So with this type of income, you could live the good life, as Ty Lopez would say.
What is it going to take me to live the good life?
Knowledge.
You're the sucker.
If you want to do a Sunday brunch in the city while everyone's at work, you can do your Sunday brunch. If you want to go to the gym at any time of the day, you can go to the gym. If you want to take a nice trip to Tagaytay, you can take a trip to Tagaytay. If you want to live on the beach, you can live on the beach. If this doesn't sound like the good life, I don't know what does. There's no worries and you can live however you please. So needless to say, with this kind of budget, you can live like a king. Where, on the other hand, with this kind of budget in the US, it won't last nearly as long. And don't get me started on how fast this monthly pension would dwindle in places like California. Think about it. $4,000 in the US goes by so quickly, and you have to live day by day worrying about your retirement and being able to keep that. You won't be living the good life there with a long retirement and without worries like you can here in the Philippines. But if I can add my 2 cents in, I advise that you don't live like these other expats out here spending on nonsense things. Because there are expats out here in the Philippines that have this kind of high retirement budget that blow it all away. They spend it on gambling, they spend it on drinking, they spend it on women. You get the gist. Now I know we all have our different ideas of quote-unquote settling down, alright? To each their own really, it's your life. But if you want to go about it the smart way, where your money will last for a long time and your health won't pay for reckless decisions, then don't do what these other guys do.
If you man, come down! Come down! Come down, I tell you! Come down!
And you don't have to live all extravagant. Live whatever way makes you happy and content. Another tip I'll give you guys is rent. I especially recommend that you don't buy a house in the Philippines, because this way you can just get up and go whenever you want. When you get bored of a certain area or want to experience just living in someplace new, renting allows you to do that. Buying a house, on the contrary, ties you to one area. And trust me when I say this, you want everything but that in the Philippines. But overall, there's no definite lifestyle when living in the Philippines. You can make adjustments on where you live, how you live, and how you spend based on your current situation. And from there, you can live a happy and content lifestyle. So there you have it, savvy expats. That is what life can be like living on a big retirement in the Philippines. If you want to see similar unfiltered retirement videos where I give you tips often not talked about, let's get this video to 500 likes. Again, big thank you to Roti, Daniel, and John, our Patreon supporters. And so thank you for watching, savvy expats, and I'll see you in the next video. God bless.